So the Templars are one of those things that just have countless conspiracies about them. From surviving as some sort of Illuminati organization to hiding some sort of massive wealth, the Templars are one of the most overhyped groups of history. And why wouldn't they be? They have all the romantic qualities of knighthood plus a mysterious disappearance that allows for some prime historical fan fiction. Even though, in reality, while they were cruel, they weren't anything spectacular. Basically just a bunch of rich Catholic boys with swords. Sure, they had the biggest banking empire in Europe and were some of the most skilled fighters in the Crusades, but they lost all of that influence and ultimately collapsed due to a massive purge by the King of France. But alternate history is almost exactly historical fanfiction, so let's explore this conspiracy and ask, what if the Templars survived? First off, I want to clarify what I mean by survived. I do not mean as in a secret organization type thing that Assassin's Creed does by saying that the Purge of 1307, the thing that ended the Templars, actually just forced them underground, and now they run the world from the shadows cast by governments and businesses. No, I'm talking about them surviving as a tangible entity that can interact with the rest of the world in substantial ways, like an actual political group or even some knightly kingdom thing. So it would be more accurate to say, what if the Templars founded a country? You might think that going from a military order to an entirely new nation is a stretch, but the Knights Teutonic and the Knights Hospitalier, the Templar sister organizations, went off to conquer the Baltics and Rhodes Island respectively. So the fact that the Templars didn't is actually more strange. They were really close to doing so in our timeline by taking over the island of Cyprus during the Crusades, but the native population hated them so much and revolted so often that the Templars literally begged for someone else to take it. So all we have to do to give them a country is to make the Templars better rulers so they can keep Cyprus, creating a Templar state. If the Templars keep control of Cyprus, then we can assume they are now better suited for ruling territory, with proper governing and economics needed for that responsibility. So we can also give them the acre territory they had during the Crusades, and with both territories under proper rule, the Templars would generally be in a better position to fight in the Crusades. Because of this, they would fight in the wars more heavily and participate in the politics of the Crusader states established afterwards. This would mean they would be fighting on behalf of the Crusaders when they sacked Constantinople and the conquest of the Byzantine Empire. The wars between the Crusader-founded Latin Empire and the Byzantine remnant states would see major Templar participation. This defense would give them feudal fiefdoms across the border of the Latin Empire to defend it against Nicaea. These fiefs would bolster the Templars' power and reputation even more, expanding their influence while inversely creating rivalries with other European countries. Initially, the relationship between the Templars and the Latin Empire would be good, but devolve over time as the Templars' power started to outshine the Empire's. This would conclude with the Latin Empire shutting down their Templar-owned banks, and in response, the Templars would go to war with the Latin Empire. But because the Latin Empire was unstable at the time, and the Templars' sole purpose is to be a military order, the Templars win, taking over the title of Latin Emperor. Now the Grand Master of the Templars was also King of Cyprus and Latin Emperor, and mixing their massive banking infrastructure with the trade hub of Constantinople meant they had a lot of power. And when I say a lot of power, I mean like a lot of power. This power would increase even further when the Pope proposes to merge the Knights Templar with the Knights Hospitalier, which was a thing that the Pope tried to do in our timeline, but it failed because the two orders absolutely hated each other. But if the Templars had such a big monopoly on the Near East, they could probably strong-arm the Hospitaliers into giving in. This merge would signify to the world that the Templars had become the most powerful force in Europe, and Europe would hate that. The French king would still lead a purge of the order, using rumors that the Templars weren't really the holy boys they claimed to be. Europe, bitter at the Templars for having so much power, would leap at the opportunity to take them out. Templar banks are shut down, members are killed, and their territory invaded. So the Templars would pack up and head for Constantinople, leaving behind their banks and their influence, fortifying the borders and preparing for war. They would fight off the invaders because while Europe wanted the Templars gone, they didn't care enough to bother with taking Constantinople. The war ends, but the Templars are badly damaged and the Templar state would start to decline. They were cut off from European trade and European diplomacy, only surviving by trading with the Middle East, and in the process become a very unique region, independent from both the rest of Europe and the Middle East. The Templars would be very religious and slow to accept the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. However, their control of Constantinople would keep them a prosperous nation. Their relations with Europe would slowly improve, but the two regions would be quite different. The Templars would be considered European to the rest of the world, but their semi-medieval society would set them apart. The Templars would mostly be neutral in world affairs, but commonly get into wars with their neighbors. They would trade and negotiate, but mostly stay to themselves until gunpowder and more modern militaries made them completely irrelevant as a nation. The Enlightenment and dissatisfaction with the old style of rule would spread until the Templars collapsed, creating a vacuum for someone else to take over. But who would replace them is an unknown. Maybe Europeans, maybe a Middle Eastern empire, maybe something else entirely. But that is a story for another video.